I wanted to share with you a benchmark test that I did recently using the Fusion IO card. It acts like a hard drive compared to a traditional hard drive. The Fusion IO works like a flash SSD type drive. As you can see here from their website, it's a series of flash memory and is placed on a card that gets plugged right onto your server. So the transfer rate is much faster than a traditional SSD drive. So let me go ahead and show you what I did within SAS programs to test that. So what I did was I took a regular SAS program and let me show you the option that I used here. It's called Pulse Timer. And so what this option allows me to do within a SAS program is it measures in pretty exact detail the CPU elapsed time and memory usage. For example, if I scroll down, I can see the exact timestamp as to when the program is processing this, along with how many seconds the various components are using. Instead of measuring memory and CPU, what I'm going to just concentrate on is just the elapsed time, how long it took to run a particular program. I chose some programs that are very I/O intensive, input output, reading and writing data sets as a test. So let me show you the results. Now, when I originally ran this on a traditional hard drive, meaning a spindle, magnetic type drive, my SAS program, this long one, took about 36 minutes. I ran once in the morning, and then I ran once in the middle of the day, and then I ran once close to the end of the day, like 4 or 5 o'clock. And what I did was I then averaged this out. This is originally I recorded in seconds because that's what the time recording was, and then I summarized it in minutes and seconds to make it easier to review. This is considered a standard drive, meaning it's just the input files are on a regular disk. And what I did as a second test is I put the work area into RAM disk. And let me describe to you what RAM disk is. So in any traditional hard drive, there's a software that you can use. There's a couple of ways of implementing this, but the way I did it was I created a letter drive called W. And this W drive is not a regular hard drive. It's actually a piece of RAM, memory within the server. So if I look here, my server is, oops, sorry, not that one. Let me look at the server performance here. The server has a pretty large size RAM. Its total allocation is about maybe 264 gigabytes of RAM. And what I did was I split it in half. So half of the RAM I allocated, let me go back to that W drive. Half of the RAM I put it into this drive called W. You can call it whatever you want, but I just allocated that. And so what I did was I went into the SAS configuration file and I changed the workspace, the SAS temporary work location, pointing to that RAM location. So whenever SAS is processing a data set, it's putting it into memory. So it's very similar to in-memory processing. That speeds it up. So for example, if you go into a SAS session and you go into the work lib name, in this case, notice that it's pointing to W, that location that I updated the work in the configuration file. So I did this for, Display Manager here, also in batch mode, also on the BI server, so EG users will also process things in RAM, in memory, so it's very fast. So notice when I did that, the performance on the same program got better, meaning it ran in shorter time. So instead of between 36, 37, or 31 minutes, averaging 35 minutes, it's now averaging 23 minutes. That's a big jump in performance because all the data sets are placed into memory when it's processing. Now I did an average here, the 35 minutes, going down to the average of 20, let's see, maybe I didn't calculate this exactly right, 23 point, let's see, 23 point, I did my calculations wrong, it should be over 60. I'm just doing this in Excel. So it's roughly about 23.9 minutes. And so that's an increase of roughly 32%, which is nice, of a performance boost. That what normally took 35 minutes went down to 23 minutes. So the last test, what I did was I then copied all the programs into a Fusion drive. Fusion drive, in this example, I put it into another drive called the I drive. It's just a map drive there to where the Fusion, which, as I explained earlier, is these flash memory chips on a PCI card, which functions like a hard drive. So when I ran that same program using the Fusion drive, let me scroll down a little bit, those three programs ran even faster. I should say that in this case, these programs use the combination of the RAM disk in memory and the source data being in the Fusion drive. So I didn't split it up. This one is using both the RAM disk and, for the work area, and also the source data being in the Fusion I/O card. In that case, you can see it got even faster, meaning those programs that used to take 35 minutes now is running about 20 minutes. So that's a nice boost in memory speed as well. So in summary, let me show you the graph that I did here. Let me maximize this. And I just did a brief graph here. And so the standard hard drive for both the source data and the work area, what used to take about 35 minutes to run, with RAM disk, it chopped it down to like 24 minutes or so. And then with the Fusion I/O card, which is the newer hard drive using flash memory, it yet cut that SAS processing down to about 20 minutes. So this is, I see, as the future in terms of processing SAS data, in that if you use a combination of RAM for the work area and all your data being stored on the Fusion I/O card, which functions like a replacement of your old hard drive, it's going to run a lot faster. So the gain here in total, as you can see, it's not quite half, but it's getting close to it. So what was 35 minutes went down to 20 minutes. So that's a nice gain. So that's my findings. It's, of course, just a sample, in that your testing may differ slightly depending on your SAS programs, but in general, from my testing, there's some nice gains, both from using RAM and from using the new Fusion I/O. I should mention that in this case, the server I'm using, has a lot of memory and it has a lot of CPUs. So, if you have a smaller server with less memory, your processing, of course, if your data is smaller, it'll be different as well. But this will give you an idea as to the type of speed performance gains that you'll have using the Fusion I/O.